Yo, what's poppin'?
Welcome back.
It's your boys, Jeremy,
And Jake.
back for another edition of
Beren.
Boys,
Bekius.
Beren, Bois, Bekius, the
Yes,
podcast
sir.
you know and love, the one making your Shabbos better, making our Shabbos better. It just makes the world better, I feel like, right? I mean,
It's holy. It's a holy thing for all of us together.
we love you guys, our fans. We miss you guys so much in between the weeks, but we love sharing this experience with you guys on Shabbos. You guys know who we are. It's your boys. We're back. Parshat Vayera. And without any further ado, the man who knows a lot about Aliyahs but is going to learn a lot more this week, Jake Teller.
All right, let's get into it. In the first Aliyah, we have God comes to Abraham, pays him a visit at the entrance of his tent.
Ah, the famous tent.
Yes, sir. Then suddenly, Abraham notices three men walk by, and he runs out to invite them into his home. Abraham and Sarah prepare a great meal for them,
Man's is hungry.
and the angels inform Abraham and Sarah that they're actually going to give birth to a child. A child?
What?
Sarah is 89 years old,
Wow.
and she heard this and just started laughing.
It's never too late, ladies.
She could not believe it. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. It is. No, medically, please don't. Unless you can.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay. In the second Aliyah, the angels leave and go to destroy the 5 cities in the region, and in the process, rescue Lot and his family who live there. Now, in doing this, Hashem informs Avraham of his plan to destroy Sodom because of all the great evil and horrible inhabitants that are in the city. Now begins the famous negotiations between Abraham and God over the city of Sodom. Abraham tells him, God, what if there are 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom? Will you save it? God says, okay. And he looks, and there aren't. They go back and forth, 40, 30, 10. Eventually he says, are there 10 people in Sodom that you would save the city for? And God says, sure. But there are not even 10 righteous people in the city of Sodom.
Ouch.
Not even 10. Man's is so evil.
That's tough.
They couldn't find 10 righteous people in the whole city. And so the bargaining ends, and God has made his verdict.
In the third Aliyah, the angels come to Sodom, and Lot invites him into his house. The only, well, not even tzaddik, but half tzaddik there, invites him into his home. The word of Lot's guests gets around, and they all come to his house to try to assault the guests.
Man's is angry.
Man's is angry. Lot refuses his demand, and they cannot kill his guests. As the Sodomites prepare to break down, they're struck with blindness. God and the angels strike them with blindness so they can't see anything. And Lot, his wife, and his 2 daughters get away from the city just before it's going to be destroyed.
Just in the nick of time, baby. Okay, so we are 3 Aliyahs deep. It is time now for the halftime sports report. We're calling a timeout on the Torah. And midway through, we're going to give you guys the sports updates for the week. We're trying this new format out. Tell us how you guys like it. Trying to just speed things up.
In the comments.
Change up the formatting a little bit. So now to the sports. Okay.
Let's go. Let's get it. The Steelers, the only undefeated team, as we said last week, still undefeated. And they're 7-0 this week.
7-0. Otherwise, in the NFL, Patty Mahomes balled up this week. 5 touchdowns. Ooh, Mans was saucing
it up.
And in other NFL news, as promised, I took a dub in fantasy this week over Jake. We took the W, baby. Woo! This man thought he could hand me an L.
Let's move on. let us move on.
Okay.
Other news, Ravens offensive lineman Ronnie Stanley signed a $99 million extension and unfortunately got injured this week.
Man secured the bag and dipped.
Wow, so tough. Prayers up to him.
For real, though. And in the NBA, not that they're playing right now, but they plan on trying to get the season to start in December and end before the Olympics so that Team USA can ball up. But there's been a lot of pushback, so we'll keep you guys updated on when the NFL season is going to begin. Okay.
That's our sports update, and now let's get right back into the Aliyahs.
Right back into the Parsha. Halftime is over, ladies and gents. Okay, so into the fourth Aliyah of Parshat Vayera. God is raining all fire and destruction on the city of Sodom, fire and sulfur, and turns the entire city over, as we know. Now, the famous story goes that anyone who looks back at the city while they're leaving turns into salt. Unfortunately, Lot's wife couldn't help herself but take a quick peek, and Mans was mad salty.
Mans is salty.
Big pillar of salt. Lot's wife is gone. She's a statue now.
Hate to see it.
But they have to move on. So they go out of the city, they take shelter in a cave, and we have one of the more disturbing stories in the Torah where Lot's daughters, assuming that the whole world has been destroyed, intoxicate their father and sleep with him in order to repopulate because they think there's no one left. And they each have a son. One leads to the nation of Ammon and one is the nation of Moab. Right, so they're repopulating, and these two sons become generations later off in the future. Now, elsewhere, Abraham relocates to the city of Gerar, where Avimelech and the Plishtim take Sarah, who they said was Abraham's sister. Not the first time Sarah has been taken captive, to his palace. Now, as we saw with Paro, Avimelech is struck with a plague for taking Sarah. He realizes this woman is off limits, not just from Abraham, but from God. So he hands her back along with gifts and riches, and escorts them nicely out of the city. Now, to end the Aliyah, Sarah conceives at the age of 90 and gives birth to a son who we know is Yitzchak. And at the age of 8 days old, not 8 years, Avram has his son circumcised in the first regular Brit Milah.
Nice. Next Aliyah, fifth Aliyah, we have Yitzchak grows up, and Sarah notices that Ishmael is a bad influence on his half-brother. She demands that Abraham expel Ishmael from the house, along with the mother Hagar. You know, there's been some beef with them recently.
Yeah, we know about the bad blood.
God. Shout out, Eric. Despite Abraham's initial misgivings, God tells him, quote, "Whatever Sarah tells you, listen to her voice." So he listens to her voice, kicks out Hagar and Ishmael, and they wander in the desert and run out of water. An angel comes and opens Hagar's eyes, and she sees a well of water. Ishmael grows up and goes up in the desert and eventually becomes a skilled archer.
Okay, so now in the Parsha, Avimelech comes to Abraham and makes a treaty with him saying, we're not going to fight each other. Mans will be at peace for 3 years. There's going to be, for 3 generations, there's going to be no fighting between them for the next 3 generations. Now to plant this in the ground, sort of sake, Abraham makes an entire orchard in Beersheba and proclaims that in the name of God, this deal has been done and there is now a treaty of peace.
Nice. Last Aliyah, we have God commands Abraham to take Yitzchak and offer him as a sacrifice. As everyone knows, the famous Akedah Yitzchak. They climb up the mountain. Abraham takes Shnei Na'arav with him, and they arrive at the altar, and Abraham binds Yitzchak to this altar.
Mans is wrapped up, about to be killed.
Abraham stretches out his hand to try to almost kill him, and an angel stops the knife from happening, orders him to stop, and instead, Abraham offers a ram that he finds in the bushes nearby. God promises Abraham that you have great reward and blessing for passing this test. After these events, it is recorded that Yitzchak's future wife, Rivka, is born.
Wow. A chilling event in Abraham's life, one of the many tests that we know is given to him by Hashem, and an incredibly powerful way to end the Parsha.
That was a loaded Parsha. Let's get into Daf Yomi.
Okay, so for the Daf Yomi update this week, instead of listing you guys a whole array of topics, we wanted to focus on one fun topic that we thought was super interesting in the Daf Yomi.
We're going in depth in the Daf Yomi for you guys.
So our topic this week is towels.
Yes! Yes!
Towels!
We have towels for you.
Let us explain, okay? So, suppose you find yourself in ancient times, 2,000 years ago, in a public bathhouse on Shabbat. Right? Makes sense.
Yes, of course.
If you're leaving that bathhouse and you pass by a non-Jewish attendant who's there to collect towels, You must not give that attendant your towel.
Don't give him the towel, man.
Why?
Because that non-Jewish attendant might wring out the towel, causing them to do schita, which is one of the 39 melachot.
Right. And so, the lesson is, keep your towel to yourself. Don't share your towels.
On Shabbos.
On Shabbos. In a public bathhouse 2,000 years ago. Right. But, practical lessons in the Gemara all around. Okay, so now for our beloved Dvar Torah from your boys, yours truly, a special note to end off the podcast, end off the Parsha, and send you guys off nicely to your Shabbat tables at home.
As we mentioned earlier in the Parsha, we have the scene of Akedah Yitzchak. So early morning, Abraham and Yitzchak rise, they go to Har Moriah, and as they climb up the mountain, the Pasuk says,
Vayomer Yitzchak el Avraham aviv, Vayomer avi. Yitzchak turns to his dad and says, Yo, Pops. Vayomer hineni bani. He says, I'm here, bro. What's up? What's good, boy? He says, Hine ha'esh v'ha'etzim ve'ayeh haseh le'olah. He says, here's the fire, here's the tree, but where's the sheep we're sacrificing?
Yitzchak is confused because he doesn't know exactly who is going to be sacrificed. What is the sacrifice? Where's the sheep that Abraham is going to take in order to give a sacrifice to Hashem?
Right. And so we learned this in class a few years back, and our rabbi turned to us and said, this is a question I ask myself often. And we look at each other like, why is rabbi asking himself, where is the sheep? And that doesn't make any sense.
No sense.
He doesn't want to know where a sheep is. What is the question our rabbi is asking himself? And the question that's really being asked here is not where is the sheep, but where is the sacrifice? And not just the sacrifice of an animal, but the inner sacrifice. Let me tell you what we mean. God gives us everything we need in life. God created the world for us. Bishvili nivra olam. But not only that, God gives us all the supplies we need. He gives us the eish. He gives us the eitzim. But in return, what are we giving back to Hashem? Where is our sacrifice? Ayeh haseh. Where is our inner sacrifice that we are giving back to God?
Not only do we have to take what Hashem gives us, but we have to make it into our own thing. We have to return to Hashem exactly what He gave us. It's a two-way street, us versus Hashem.
Right. To make the symbiotic relationship between us and God work, it requires effort on both ends. So when God gives us the eish and the eitzim, we need to give Him the seh. We need to meet Him in the middle for everything to work. And so what this question is that our rabbi was asking is not where's the sheep, but where's the sacrifice? And it's a question we can all ask ourselves. Look inside yourself. Say, what am I doing to Hashem? What am I giving to Hashem in exchange for what He does for me? Right? Look inside yourself. Say, where's the sacrifice? And we hope that this week you can all look inside yourselves and ask yourselves, where's your sacrifice? Find that sacrifice and let that encourage you and empower you through these tough times and through your Shabbat.
And have a fantastic Shabbos, everyone.
And until next time, peace!